What makes the Northern Lights? The Northern Lights, also known as the Aurora Borealis, is a colorful nightly light display in or near the Arctic and Antarctic Circles. In the north, the display is called Aurora Borealis, or Northern Lights. In the south, it is called Aurora Australis, or Southern Lights. In Norse mythology, the aurora was a fire bridge to the sky built by the gods. The activity that creates auroras begins on the sun. The sun is a ball of superhot gases made up of electrically charged particles called ions. The ions, which continuously stream from the sun's surface, are called the solar wind. The ions, which continuously stream from the sun's surface, are called the solar wind. As solar wind approaches the Earth, it meets the Earth's magnetic field. Most of the solar wind is blocked by the magnetosphere, and the ions, forced around the planet, continue to travel farther into the solar system. Although most of the solar wind is blocked by the magnetosphere, some of the ions become briefly trapped in ring-shaped holding areas around the planet. Most of the solar wind is blocked by the magnetosphere, and the ions, forced around the planet, continue to travel farther into the solar system. Although most of the solar wind is blocked by the magnetosphere, some of the ions become briefly trapped in ring-shaped holding areas around the planet. These areas, in a region of the atmosphere called the ionosphere, are centered around the Earth's geomagnetic poles. The geomagnetic poles mark the tilted axis of the Earth's magnetic field. They lie about 1,300 kilometers, 800 miles, from the geographic poles, but are slowly moving. In the ionosphere, the ions of the solar wind collide with atoms of oxygen and nitrogen from the Earth's atmosphere. The energy released during these collisions causes a colorful glowing halo around the poles, an aurora. Most auroras happen about 97 to 1,000 kilometers, 60 to 620 miles, above the Earth's surface. The most active auroras happen when the solar wind is the strongest. Some increased activity in the solar wind happens during every equinox. These regular fluctuations are known as magnetic storms. Magnetic storms can lead to auroras being seen in the mid-latitudes during the time around the spring and autumnal equinoxes. Auroras have been visible as far south as the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The colors of the aurora vary, depending on altitude and the kind of atoms involved. If ions strike oxygen atoms high in the atmosphere, the interaction produces a red glow. This is an unusual aurora. The most familiar display, a green-yellow hue, occurs as ions strike oxygen at lower altitudes.